Hey, everybody, it's Kyle Hackbarth here with the Drive podcast, presented by James Marketing Company. Today I'm here with...
I'm Joseph Scala. I live here in Appleton. I'm proud to be very involved with several things in our community and extremely appreciative and gracious of Kyle taking the time to allow me to talk about some of my favorite things, causes, and people important to me. So I thank you in advance for that.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I guess that's a loaded and long question, but I'll start from the beginning. And I'm the youngest of 8. I have 5 older sisters, 2 older brothers, who I absolutely love, as we talked about even prior to beginning. Family has always been a core part of my life. I come from very humble beginnings. My parents were first-generation immigrants. My dad had a 3rd grade education, worked 6 days a week. I was fortunate to spend a ton of time with him, but, I don't really have a pedigree. A lot of times people that I meet now, particularly because of some of the amazing experiences I've had and that we're going to talk about, think otherwise. But yeah, I was just a Italian kid from North Jersey. I grew up in Jersey. I moved here to Wisconsin in '02, so it's been a while. And I do, as much so as family is what's home. It's not the physical place, but Wisconsin is home to me. I mean, there's a place that's really embraced me from the jump. And again, a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today, but I absolutely love it here. Short story in terms of how I ended up here is I had an opportunity with a company in an industry I knew, with people I knew, in an industry I was very comfortable with. And I was probably the one person on the planet from North Jersey that would embrace that move. But, the reason being, as I said, coming from the humble beginnings that I did, I mean, obviously there's a huge, huge disparity in terms of cost of living 15 miles from New York City versus here in Appleton, Wisconsin, and even in Milwaukee, where I originally moved. So that really, kind of changed my life in a lot of great ways. I mean, obviously, getting here allowed me to meet my wife, and, her mom has become and been mom to me since 3 months after we started dating. I mean, I love her, like my own, and, have embraced them. But, from a professional side, I'm kind of a career sales management guy. I called on some of the biggest customers, the, Office Max staples of this world, to the smallest mom and pops, and kind of everywhere in between. As it stands today, I'm sales manager for Estes Freight. I'm based out of our Appleton terminal, so my territory extends west to Wausau, south to Fond du Lac, and north to the border where we have a terminal in Iron Mountain. But a lot of experience with a lot of different types of customers, and like I said, from a professional standpoint, that's probably a decent overview. And as I said, to reiterate, from a personal standpoint, I'm just fortunate in so many ways, but in the biggest, most important way, with the love and, care of family, my siblings, obviously a lot of the volunteers and the things we're going to dive into, but hopefully that gives people a good overview of kind of what makes me me, or some of the things that do.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. You and I met at Lawless in Neenah. And it was just so random.
It was just complete serendipity.
I was sitting at a table right next to you and Spencer Jones, and the two of you were just, I don't even know what you were talking about, but all of a sudden you guys both stood up and you looked at me and you're like, "Hey, can you take a picture of us?"
Short story on that. I'm sure that I think that the serendipity about that was cool, is that we would have met at some point in the short-term future,
right?
Because you're involved in the chamber and we go to the same things. But that particular day was really funny. Spencer and I have been friends for a long time, and we see each other at a lot of the events. And a lot of time had gone by for whatever reason. And he's known for the crazy jackets. Well, once I unapologetically, absolutely, positively love Christmas. So once we get to around Thanksgiving, I mean, I'm president of my condo association. I'm putting up the tree. I'm wearing my Christmas jackets. I'm wearing my ugly sweaters on November 15th.
Right.
So Spencer also is same way. And we had missed each other at the Fox Chamber event, where a lot of people are doubling in the Christmas spirit. And we were just exchanging emails, and we're just like, we got to get together and take a cool picture because it's Christmas time, our Christmas card. And I had a really garish Christmas jacket, and he did too. And we were literally just about finished catching up, and we're just like, oh man, we got to get a picture. And you happened to be right there, and then we struck up a conversation, and literally we connected the next day. And
Yeah.
I don't want to insult you, but you become a friend.
Yeah.
And I saw you last night. So that's kind of how that whole thing started with you. And as I said, going back to kind of the beginning and even to ultimately the end.
Yeah.
I'm just so appreciative, and I'm sure it shows even in just the part that we've gotten into thus far.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking about the people, the sponsors, the organizations, family, and all that, for want of a better cliche, make life worth living.
Yeah. So a lot of people are probably wondering, what do you all do?
Okay. Well, I mean, from a professional standpoint, as I briefly touched on, I'm sales manager with Estes Freight, and we do exactly what, I said. I mean, we move freight. We compete with a lot of the big ones that you see on the road every day, the Old Dominions, the Saia, FedEx Freight, and some of the others. I'm sure that now that people see this, they're going to recognize our trucks all the time because we have a huge presence here in the Fox Valley. Our terminal is running distance from here. One of the really awesome things, even though I've had a long career and I traveled really extensively over the last 25, 30 years, major markets and all, this is truly the first position I've ever had where all the local connections, all the local philanthropy really truly helps me in my job. And the company is incredibly supportive of it. I mean, Estes is a big company. I mean, a $6 billion largest privately held carrier, but fiercely committed to philanthropy and giving back. And, right now we're doing open heart, open road wraps for Alzheimer's, Special Olympics. I mean, things are really important to me. But, again, getting back to the, blocking, tackling, I mean, I call on major customers, and we obviously have customers that we're working with, that you're working to nurture and develop those relationships, build that business. Of course, you're trying to, build new business. Now, it's interesting, that being said, particularly as someone that traveled extensively, and we talked about this right before we started. I'm coming off a Wednesday, Thursday whirlwind of Wausau, Rhinelander, and circling sort of back around. I mean, I traveled very extensively, but very little overnight compared to, I mean, there were years in the 2000s where, I mean, hell, I probably spent 150 nights away. And from quality of life standpoint, it's just, I mean, I'm sure it shines through. I'm a pretty positive, upbeat dude, but just from a quality of life standpoint, knowing that I can schedule something on a Thursday 2 months from now and have no concern whatsoever that I'm going to have a work trip, have to run to corporate, whatever it happens to be. From a quality of life standpoint, has really changed things. I will say, I mean, of course, it goes without saying, every day is not a fairy tale, but I really have just loved developing the friendships with the customers. And in a small market, it's really fun because some of my biggest customers, I mean, I run into grocery shopping. But as I said, I gave the long answer to a short question, but the short answer is, I'm sales manager for our terminal, and we also have an Iron Mountain terminal and a Wausau terminal, and just building business, building those relationships. And equally importantly, much like we touched on with family, building those internal relationships as well, because I'm very, very fortunate, as I've said in so many instances, to work with just great people that I enjoy being around. I mean,
yeah,
whether I was working or not.
Tell me a little bit more about the volunteering aspect of your job, but also, why do you like doing it? What makes it important to you?
Volunteering is just a huge part of my life, as pretty much everyone that knows me knows. I mean, I'm incredibly humbled to say, but I'm proud to shout from the rooftops. I mean, I was 2021 Corporate Volunteer of the Year for Wisconsin. I received a Lifetime Outstanding Volunteer Award in 23. I mean, they usually give those to you posthumously to someone they love, but fortunately, I beat that one. But jokes aside, I mean, like I said, it's a huge part of my life. Where does it start? Well, it's really, really simple. Where it started. I mean, it starts really bad, but it ends really well. As I said, I was the youngest of 8, and my dad passed when I was 16. He had cancer, very, very bad. It was a different time. It was so far advanced. There was truly nothing they could do. I mean, they told us basically on roughly July 1st that he had 3 to 6 months, and he was 3 months to the day. The interesting thing is, not knowing when this is going to publish, tomorrow is November 1st, which is the day and passed. And that's always a hard day for me and my brothers and sisters. And of course, my mom, before that. But so when dad originally got diagnosed, naturally you start reading up on things. You start going to, support groups, learning, about cancer, learning about the process. And that just sort of thrust me into a lifelong commitment to that cause. Now, parallel to that, from my earliest recollections, and again, the people that I know and that are close to me know this, my eldest sister is challenged. But Teresa's like a high performing 6-year-old. I mean, she worked 45 years at the county vocational center. She had a quote unquote normal 9 to 5 existence, but she's been a part of my life from day one. And it's really interesting because that's just a part of my family. I've probably done the most in my lifetime in terms of helping that cause, but I never looked at that as a cause because that was like my reality. So anyway, that's kind of how it started. And I, was a pretty avid volunteer for the American Cancer Society. I'm proud to say I'm still an ambassador for them. I've been a Real Men Wear Pink ambassador. When I moved to Wisconsin, one of the things that when my mom had gotten diagnosed with Alzheimer's and a very similar situation, I kind of dove into that, started reading about it. I connected with the organization. I've served on the committee for many years. I was chair this year and I've been past chair. One of the things we're obviously going to get to and touch on is I sing at a lot of events. So a lot of those things started as doing the anthem for the Making Strides Walk for American Cancer, doing the anthem for the Alzheimer's walks, which again is something that I've done to this day. In fact, we've just passed sort of fall walk season. One of the other things so important that, we touched on, I'm humbled to say, but I sing for a lot of military organizations. So again, as I had mentioned, we're jumping into November as we tape, but Veterans Day is coming up. Veterans Day is a huge day for me. I'm involved with Fox Valley Veterans Council, sing for them. I'll have the National VFW that night. Finally getting to the direct answer to your question. Why? I just think it's the right thing to do. I mean, I think that we were just, like I said, we were not raised with much of anything, but we always had love. We still have that. And my mother, she'd say some derivative of this almost every day, that even if you don't have much, you share what you got. And that's not just me, but even the rest of my brothers and sisters have sort of always lived by that credo. Even my sister Teresa. I mean, even though she is, she has her challenges, although she never know it. I mean, she's as positive as I am, but she puts others first. She really does. I mean, she's been by my side for the great stuff, of course, but she's been by my side for the tough stuff too. I mean, when mom passed, I mean, she was on one side, my wife was on the other. So, that's why. I mean, I think and one last thing I would add on that, in that sort of silo, is that these organizations, kind of like we were touching on before we began, that, donation and contributions are the lifeblood of those organizations. And it's really important to try to make a difference. And difference can be time. Doesn't have to be much. I always tell people that I really emphasize, even from my standpoint, that to me, I mean, anyone can write a check and that doesn't diminish that. But like I said, if I, being involved with a lot of these, I'm there, I'm lending a hand, I'm folding chairs, I'm singing, whatever is needed.
Let's dive into the singing.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you do that? What do you sing? Like, what does that mean to you? And again, why do you do it?
It's really funny, as I say about so many things, you always have to go back to the beginning, and where it started is, from my earliest recollections, I'm talking like 6, 7. My 5 older sisters, Eagles song, James Taylor song would come on the radio, and I just took to mimicking them. Truth be told, as much so as I've done some huge things, and people are usually surprised to hear this, but I have no formal training. I can't read music, but I obviously love doing it, and it's been a huge part of my life, and I hope will be till the day I die. But that's kind of how it started. And then the anthem thing, I did a couple times when I was in New Jersey, but it was not a big part of my life. But when I moved here, it really changed. I did a couple Northwoods Leagues games, and it's kind of the classic someone told someone, told someone, told someone, shared videos, and it just really took off from there to, as we were talking about earlier, some really big stuff. I mean, I've gotten to do UW basketball, all sorts of UWGB sports. So, and much more importantly, the military events, because the military events are in a separate silo. I mean, in terms of being meaningful, and how much, again, whether it's the anthem, whether it's God Bless America, whether it's America the Beautiful, how meaningful it is to these people. And to just be there as a spectator is a big deal, much less to be involved in the actual program. So yeah, it's a huge part of my life, and I'm sure it shows in terms of how I light up talking about it. It's just,
Yeah.
again, one of those things I love talking about. I'll never tire of talking about. It's a huge part of my life.
Yeah. So, what do you think your motivation is?
At the risk of, again, being a one note banjo and going back, I always start at the beginning. It's family. I mean, my biggest motivation, and it's funny, I've been asked this question a lot, and I'm sure a lot of other people do, but I've been fortunate to, because of some of the things I've been involved with being interviewed and people take interest in what you do. And I don't care if I was 5 or 15 or 55. I want my parents to be proud of me. That is like the first thing every day. And you know what? I'm an imperfect being. I stumble just like everyone else, but you know, I'm, as we talked about, I'm pretty positive, upbeat dude, but the only thing, or one of very few things that really could upset me is just letting my parents down. I mean, I look back at there weren't a lot of times because, I was trying to be a good kid. I mean, that's just the way we were raised, but I just want to make my parents proud. Now, then, of course, that also translates into equally brothers and sisters and wife and, and her mom. But that's always been the motivating factor for me. It's never been about, title or money or whatever, because I never had it to begin with. Like I live better than I ever thought I would live. I mean, not just a lot of the things that we've talked about, but, we've got a beautiful home. I've got nice clothes. I have just about everything I need. I mean, the one thing we all wish for, not just for ourselves, but all the people close to us is, health. And fortunately, I'm very fortunate on that note too. But yeah, my motivation has always been, the people close to me and making them proud and trying to make a difference. And again, not just on the big stuff, not just on the share of the Appleton Alzheimer block. I mean, if I'm outside and the kids across the street are playing, I'd go and shoot baskets with them, I'll play with them, I'll try to make them laugh. It's just making a difference in the little things. When you get a cup of coffee in the morning on your way to appointments, you just greet the people that you see in a cordial manner. It might make their day. As I said, and it's really interesting. Even from a business standpoint, we all love the grand and glorious thing. I've been a part of them. When you're in a conference room and you present to 8 people and it's $1 million deal. I mean, we love those, but that's the outlier. Most of my career is, and everyone else is, you're calling on the smaller incremental customers and building that. Well, it's the same with that. Yes. Corporate volunteer was awesome. It was great to be there. I was so proud. I mean, to go back and just have those memories, but like I said, my recollections of the last few days are just as vivid in terms of trying again, as an imperfect being, I probably said that one too many times, but, trying to, for want of a better cliche, make the world a better place,
Tell me about a time that you felt like something that you did made a huge impact on somebody's life, or just a really good feeling somebody got by something you did with volunteering, or something that you're like, wow, I'm really glad that I'm able to help that person.
How many hours you got?
As many hours as you need.
No, I'll answer this more in general terms because this does actually happen very frequently. There have been several times where I was just something very routine. One of the things, and again, you guys have probably noticed this, times with a lot of the functions. I typically try to rotate I'm not wearing a jacket today, but rotate my lapel pins. I'll do Alzheimer's, I'll do American Cancer, and invariably I can be doing the most innocuous things. Like just very recently, I was pumping gas. It was American Cancer Month in October. I was just filling my car with gas. It's my own business. And this lady appeared out of nowhere. I didn't know who she was, never seen her before. And she's just like, "Are you involved with them?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm a volunteer." And I got the short story. And she's just like, "Oh, we don't know what to do. My mom just got diagnosed." I'm like, "You know what? Just jot me down your information. That's why they're there. They're help you. I'll put you in touch with them. They're going to put you right at the top of the list because, your name came from me." I mean, that's one of the great things about being involved with things. And that has played out several times. And that to me is always the most meaningful one because you don't see it coming. Like I could have certainly answered that question and say, "Oh, where'd you make a difference?" Well, certainly, singing and being involved or handing someone a check, but those things are planned and more organized. But I can't tell you how many times I've had people just approach me, and knowing, what I was involved in and just being able to help them it's just so reassuring to them. I mean, you can literally see you know, the, the, the weight come off their shoulders. It's just like, they're just like, yeah, that there are people, right now with American Cancer or Alzheimer's, their 800 number, they're waiting for those calls and they can help. And I think that's one of the things that I do try to help. It's interesting. I'm probably over answering this because you asked me one, but on the military side, it's the same because we were talking about this before, is that these organizations like the Menasha VFW and Fox Valley Veterans Council, they help these people that are really, some of them are down on their luck. They've got PTSD. They're homeless. All sorts of problems. It's just being able to facilitate that and say, you know what? I know somebody that can help you. Call Dave and, stop at the lodge or stop and see Tim. They can help or they can direct you. And you just see in these people's faces, and I'm sure it shows as you look at me. I mean, it just makes you feel good. It's awesome to have the chance to make that kind of difference in someone's life.
They often say giving is receiving.
Mm-hmm.
When you give something and you're able to have that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I was able to help that person.
Yeah.
You receive so much.
I tell people that every day. And, again, people have adversity, whether it's health issues or some, abuse. There's all sorts of things going on. But I will say, I mean, a lot of times I'll say to people, like, you want to make you feel better about yourself, do something for someone else. And it doesn't have to be on a charitable level. It can be your sister, your brother, whatever it happens to be. But that's one, I don't know many things for sure, but I will tell you that I definitely couldn't come up from thousands of instances where I helped someone try to make them feel better, which didn't make me feel better. I mean, and I think if there was one overriding message, that I try to convey in almost everything I do, it's that it's just, you know what, you want to feel good about you, do something for somebody else. You really will. And I don't say it like in a Tony Robbins motivational speaker way. You will feel better. It will make you happy to try to help out.
Mm-hmm. Two last questions for you.
Okay.
When somebody is listening to this and they're struggling with their purpose, and their why, what first step would you tell them to be able to kind of figure that out?
It's funny. I really, and we kind of had touched on this to a degree. I almost consider that a softball question because I think where you almost have to start is you got to connect with the people close to you. You've got to, and again, whether that's spouse, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's colleagues, whatever it happens to be. But if you're struggling, I mean, I certainly would say from my standpoint, because we all have crisis of faith and purpose at times. I mean, when my dad got sick, I mean, I was freaking pissed. I mean, I know it's hard for people to imagine me as a 16-year-old, but yeah, I mean, granted, I carried myself the same way I do today, but I was angry. I mean, it's like, I need my freaking dad. I'm going to accomplish a lot of cool shit and I want him to be there. Sorry, and I mean, that's one of the probably few quote unquote regrets I have, but I think, again, at that point in time, what do? You circle the wagons with family, you connect with your brothers and sisters, you support your mother, that's where I would start.
What do you want your legacy to be?
God, I kind of knew that question was coming at some point. And again, I consider that a relative softball, for want of a better term, because don't get me wrong. I mean, I try to be a humble person, but I'm also proud. I mean, of accomplishments and, on a professional level, personal level. I mean, some of the ones we even talked about on a volunteer level. I mean, I'm certainly proud that I was named Volunteer of the Year. I mean, I didn't go into it pursuing that award, but I'm certainly proud of it. But that being said, I don't think, we all don't know how long we have, but when I'm gone, I don't think anyone's going to look back and be like, oh yeah, he was a veteran of thousands of appointments and he called on some of the biggest customers and, he put together this deal or whatever. Those would be a part of the story, but it's going to be the things that you talked about. It's like he touched people's lives. I hope, that people look back and be like, you know what? he tried to be present. He tried to be present for the organizations he was involved in. He tried to be present for, his family. Did he stumble and make some mistakes along the way? Sure, everyone did. But I truly do hope that my legacy is of, being a good, caring person that tried to help people, that was again, going back to the beginning, kind of like we started, loving and devoted son, loving brother to my siblings, and a good husband. That to me is like the Mount Rushmore, those three things. And the interesting thing about this is I think the order changes. I think when I was 20, the Mount Rushmore was parents, siblings, someday spouse. Of course, once you bring someone into your life, I mean, that whole till death do us part thing's a bitch. I mean, she is first. She is. And it's okay to admit that, because I don't love my siblings any less, but that has switched, and that it's wife and family, brothers and sisters, and, my parents obviously are gone. So those to me are the kind of, again, Mount Rushmore of how I want to be remembered. I mean, if I'm remembered as that, as, like I said, at the risk of repeating myself, a good husband, loving brother, devoted son, that's enough. All the other stuff is nice, put it in my obit, and maybe it'll touch somebody.
Sure. What do you want to promote?
I think just the easy stuff, without knowing when this is going to air, but it doesn't matter, because these are things you can promote every day. As we record, we're a couple weeks out from Veterans Day. Veterans Day is a huge time for me. I've been a part of the Fox Valley Veterans Council of Remembrance for many years, doing the anthem. I'll be with the Menasha VFW that evening with Commander Dave. Commander Dave he's like a father to me. I mean, I love him. He was my nominator when I received the Outstanding Lifetime Achievement Award. So those are some really big things coming up. Lots of games. I've got two UWGB women, two UWGB men coming up. Just a lot of the same cool stuff. It's interesting because we're coming out of a cycle where there's really a lot of things, the fall walks and different things. But as I said, I think the big things coming up are those things, the games. And one last thing I would mention, because it kind of ties into the whole volunteerism thing. I have a Packers group at every game, as does Nudie Gate, for a variety of charities, all of which I think we've covered today. And that's just a constant thing. But, do realize that, all of you out there, that if you're at a Packers game, swing by the Associated Gate and say hello. We would love to see you. And I hope for many, many, many years to come. And thank you just so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Where do people find you?
I can be found at all the familiar places. I've got a big LinkedIn presence. Obviously, my LinkedIn presence is very tied to the business side. I've got a Facebook presence. And again, I've always said that Facebook is all about the happy stuff. That's family and events. My Twitter is really easy, at Scala Joseph. Twitter, it's X. I'm really dating myself. Next thing I'm going to say, I have appointment television this weekend, and all the people that are 30 or below are not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. But those are the obvious areas I can reach. But as we talked about too, for those listening, if you go to Fox Chamber event, any of the events within the Fox Valley that I get to, come over and say hello. I'm always want to expand the circle.
That's awesome. Thanks, everybody, for watching today's episode. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and we'll see you guys in the next one.